Good afternoon. I'm Sonia Mañjon. I'm the director of the Barnett Center for Integrated Arts and Enterprise at The Ohio State University, and also associate professor of Arts Administration, Education, and Policy. So I'm really happy to be back at AICAD. I actually started my academic career at an AICAD institution, California College of the Arts, and then sort of went all the way across the country to Connecticut, and now I'm kind of in the middle here at Ohio State University. But we are the arts component within arts and science of the college, so I still feel at home here. So I will be presenting with 3 of my graduate students. I'm going to invite them to come up now because they're probably a little jittery. I want to get the jitters out. And we are going to be talking about a graduate student think tank program that's one of the inaugural programs of the Barnett Center. And we're moving from an interdisciplinary format to a transdisciplinary framework in project-based learning. So to set the stage for you, the Barnett Center just opened in January of this year. It has a very healthy endowment, and there are a number of programs. We have a biannual symposium that we do. There are fellowships for graduate students, so they don't have to teach. They can really focus on their work. And we have a speaker series. And so the think tank was really sort of the brainchild of how do we combine sort of what we want our students to get out of understanding what arts entrepreneurship is and how they develop sustaining careers in the arts with sort of what we're doing at an educational basis. And so it's a very sort of unique practice of working with a partner, with a community partner, in a very collaborative modality. And it's very much unlike a class structure. So what we look at is exploration, innovation, and creativity in collaboration, where we're utilizing a cooperative inquiry approach to what we do and an ex post facto analysis between the think tank members and our community partners. We explore what arts entrepreneurship is, both in research, practice, and in education. And then we really are looking at the outcomes in terms of solutions to the artist-defined issues with the transformative approach to transition. So we currently have 2 think tanks that are going on. Our first think tank started December of 2013 with Sweet Honey in the Rock, which I'm sure many of you know who they are. And our second think tank just started this semester with one of our local community arts organizations, which is the King Arts Complex. And the students will talk about both of those think tanks and explain the process that they're engaged in working with the artists and with the organization. So what I'd like to do is show a short video that will kind of give you an understanding of how we're envisioning this transdisciplinary framework. And what we did is we started the first think tank working with one of our faculty members in design, to really explore how do we come out of our disciplinary boxes. We have students from all over the college, not just art students, and we partner very closely with both the Fisher School of Business and with the John Glenn School of Public Affairs, because we also want to affect policy, and we want to sort of change the landscape of sort of the dying 501c3 structure, which is proving to be unsustainable for many of our organizations and artists. So let me show you the video. Let me start this.
So this is us, our different disciplines or perspectives, and Wen wanted to make sure that we were not stuck in boxes, that we were shown maybe we have 1 foot in a box, right, in a particular perspective or idea, but that we are willing to come out of those.
Finally, we're going to come up with 2 results One is to give more instruction and recommendations to the partner we're working with. And then another one is we add our own layers of understanding and our disciplinaries to construct a theory to present.
And then we are going into interdisciplinarity, where we are layering our ideas on top of each other, and then we are trying to get into the ideas of having no language but everybody's language, and each has its own value, and there is no hierarchy in it.
And that brings us to the solution cloud. So the mix of all these transdisciplinary will ultimately lead to a clearer cloud with solutions. But the idea here is that our ideas will be translated into results, and from those results, things will grow.
We started thinking more about the cloud. We're thinking about visionary. So we're envisioning the future of what collaboration could look like. Maybe not working as a think tank of, it's 4 people basically working locally with one organization. How about 4 people working with 6 people on different continents?
So I'm going to have Allison take over here, and she's going to talk about the model.
Thanks. Good afternoon. I'd like to start by saying that our first think tank was formed intentionally from a group of very diverse students. We come from all sorts of cultural backgrounds, academic disciplines, and practical experiences. And our process for working with Sweet Honey in the Rock has 4 components. We began with knowledge collection, relationship and trust building, individual and collaborative creativity, and lastly, empowerment. And we approach this process with the working hypothesis that in order to successfully transition an arts organization into an entrepreneurial model, we needed to come from a transdisciplinary and collaborative approach and really explore and value cultural identity, economic self-reliance, and sustainability. The first phase of our work was really focused on the artists as individuals and as musicians. We also had to really look at the assets of the organization. Specifically with Sweet Honey in the Rock was their cultural legacy and their social justice mission, was something that was very unique to them. We also had to focus on the stagnations, the reservations that the artists had. They're fearful of moving from the 501c3 nonprofit structure into a more entrepreneurial model. And phases 2 and 3 of our process were really about knowledge collection, about the group and their background, as well as building an entrepreneurial mindset for the students and for the artists. And as students who were, from the first day, we were very eager to understand Sweet Honey in the Rock, their history, their organizational structure, their finances, but we were met with a lot of pushback from the musicians. They were very private about the details of their organization, so we realized that we needed to build trust and build a relationship with these artists before jumping in and making changes. And so the way that we built that trust with them was to attend concerts, attend rehearsals, interview staff members, interview the musicians themselves about their vision for their musical group. And we also wanted to build the entrepreneurial mindset for the artists themselves. So we initiated a series of 3 interactive workshops similar to what you saw in the video. We laid out all the facts and details of different entrepreneurial models for the artists to learn about and essentially choose from. We created a space where the artists could re-envision their group and choose the best entrepreneurial model that fit their needs. Our aim was to be very non-prescriptive in this process. We wanted the artists to really make their own choice. And our final stage is phase 4. It's the final stage of transition, and that's where we currently stand now. And this stage is all about empowerment. We've sat down with the artists, created an action plan, and it's now up to the artists to enact those action steps and take the organization to the next phase on their own. So we've gradually released the responsibility onto the artists. And we believe that in order for the change to really be sustainable, we have to take a step back and allow the artists to take ownership. And thank you, that's all.
So the relationship was developed with Sweet Honey in the Rock. I've known them for many, many years. And I did some work for them sort of as a consultant when I was transitioning from Wesleyan University to Ohio State. And once I knew I was going to be overseeing this Barnett Center, that was brand new, and I said to the ladies, well, if you want to continue to work, let's work with some graduate students. I love working with students, because they always see the glass as half full. They see the possibilities. And they were a little hesitant at first, but I said, if we're going to do this, and we need to make a long-term commitment on both ends so that the students were committing to working with this think tank up to 2 years, as well as the Honey Ladies. And so, now we're in the point where we can go into this next phase, these next couple of months of really seeing, if this process can be successful for transitioning this organization in terms of its, not only its organizational and management structure, but also in terms of the artistic process of recreating who they want to be going into their next 40 years. They're celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. So it's been a very exciting process. The next person that will be talking is TC, who will be introducing you to our second think tank, which is a local think tank, the King Arts Complex, which is located in the historic district of the King Lincoln District, which is right here next door. I don't know which way it is, that way. And they actually came to us when they heard that we were working with Sweet Honey in the Rock in this fashion, and they said, we need a think tank. So, TC.
Hello. The King Arts Complex is a different type of organization from Sweet Honey in the Rock, but being the second think tank, we had the opportunity and the benefit of learning from the first about this process, and it is indeed a process. The first step in the process was getting to know each other. Like the first think tank, we come from different backgrounds, varied talents, research interests, disciplines. So the idea was to establish an environment where all of our values and talents were, or not our values, but our talents were valued so that ideas could be shared. So we do come from many different places. And then, after establishing an environment where we could create a paradigm for ourselves, a new paradigm, was to introduce ourselves to the King Arts Complex and introduce ourselves to their leadership. So in September, we met the director and the assistant director first, got to know them, allowed them to get to know us, to see their vision, their personalities as well as ours, and to establish an organic working relationship so that this process could be the most successful that it could be. The next step was to get to know the complex itself. So that meant going on tours, meeting or learning the history, learning the programs, meeting some of the people that benefited from this complex, and especially learning what the complex had to offer as an asset. And in that tour, we got to know the staff, all of their different personalities, what they do on a day-to-day basis, getting to know the organization in a very intimate level. establishing trust, which Charlie will speak more on in a second. We also have an open invitation to all board meetings, advisory meetings, their monthly marketing meetings, so we can go there and learn as much as we can so that our advice at the end of this think tank or throughout the process is the best that it can. Not just learning about the complex, there are layers to this, so we had to also learn about the cultural landscape and the local environment. Like Sonia said, this complex exists in an arts district that is only a few blocks east of here. That district has its own cultural plan, has its own history. It also exists within a larger neighborhood, the Near East Side or Bronzeville, that has a cultural plan, and then Columbus has a cultural and arts plan. So the idea was to learn all the ways that these cultural plans interact, and then to come back to, after learning about ourselves, learning about the King Arts Complex, learning about the overall cultural landscape, to come back to how the King Arts Complex could better fulfill their own mission in changing the way that they do business.
So next, Charlie will talk about the trust building process, which was really, really critical in both of these think tanks in terms of this really truly being a collaborative process and not being a process where, you know, the academy is you know, in the driver's seat here, you know, sort of looked at as the experts, but, you know, we are really also learning from the artists and from the arts organizations in terms of, you know, what are those critical issues that they're dealing with in terms of either keeping them from making changes that they want to make or they think about making, or where the blocks are for them not to be able to really envision their future in a different way.
Good afternoon. So what first we're doing is we're exploring the intricacies of the multitude of relationships which are surrounding and involving the King Arts Complex, specifically with the Keene Lincoln District. This focuses on institutions already established in the district, community knowledge of the King Arts Complex knowledge of the community, their levels of involvement, interaction, engagement, and activism within the community, and also the issues that are facing the community, which include community revitalization, resident displacement, and a lack of economic access. This moves us into the establishing trust process. And as TC mentioned, the Keene Lincoln District presents a very unique climate and presents the King Arts Complex with a very unique and unprecedented and uncommon challenges. We in the think tank are becoming aware of those challenges and how we can grow in our commitment to helping ameliorate them. Through our shared passion for the issues, our time spent interacting with the staff and the community, and our practical and academic knowledge that we have already gained through our studies and are gaining, we're combining all of these into a process that is key to a think tank and is a process that can be replicated regardless of monetary resources for your institution. It's really a grassroots effort because time, passion, and knowledge are something that can be replicated and understood in any institution, and those are the key facets to making this think tank work, especially in the trust building process. And finally, we're looking at the organizational structure. The King Arts Complex is a 501c3 institution, and as many of you are probably familiar with, that includes a staff, a mission, and a board of directors. What's unique about the King Arts Complex is they exist and are operating in a field of inequity. So we are looking at their organizational structure and perceiving ways of how they can deviate and innovate within the 501c3 structure. And this is where entrepreneurism comes in, which can manifest itself in many fashions, including revenue generation, new collaborative efforts, and also developing a keen awareness of opportunity spotting. And we in the think tank are keeping this entrepreneurial model and mindset in mind and thinking of ways that we can approach the King Arts Complex in developing their own entrepreneurial mindset.
So what we found out in doing this process, and two of my other think tank students are also in the audience from the first think tank, is that as we're working with our partners in a transdisciplinary, collaborative manner, is that we're also learning. We're learning about this new process that we're trying to develop. All of the students do sign up for a 3-credit graduate seminar course with me for the first semester that they participate in the think tank, and then after that they can continue to sign up for credits or they don't have to. But I really want to see that commitment kind of deepened in that first semester. Part of this process is also presenting at conferences, and so we've presented at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We've presented at the Taipei National University of the Arts in Taiwan. We've presented Chicago, Detroit. So part of this is also for the students to be able to really tell their story, to talk about what we're doing and how we're doing it, because it informs our learning process. So some of our lessons learned so far is that for research, it's an ongoing process. Again, we're looking at policies that affect funding mechanisms for these organizations and institutions, and we're really building curriculum towards arts entrepreneurship within the institution. For the organizations, we're really helping them to evolve their identity and sort of reimagine their organizational structure towards a new service model, based on this transdisciplinary framework and arts entrepreneurship. And then for the community arts component, we're really looking at this framework as a strategy for curricular building, both in higher education and through practicums and internships in the community and in arts education. And so we're really looking at this from a multi-pronged approach. With that, I think our time is up, and we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.